people were kind of buzzing to me a little bit, sending me texts saying that they're hearing that Dana White's going to step away from the UFC.
Anybody can be replaced, and Dana can be replaced. It's just the way the world works. But Dana is the most popular person, be it fighters or non-fighters, in the sport of MMA. I will tell you this, and this is the problem, is new owners that are new people coming to the sport of MMA don't tend to be smart enough to look at history and figure out someone's already done that and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And there's a reason it didn't work. Now, if you can figure out that reason and say, okay, but if I do it this way, I believe it will. All right, you can try it. The GFL is coming out and they're signing all these ex-UFC fighters and guys that are past their prime in their careers. And you're looking at it and you're going, what are they doing? And their format is exactly basically what the IFL had. It's a team format, kind of like a wrestling team. You score points based upon when you win the fight. If you win the fight in the first round, you get so many points. You win it in the second round. It's all that stuff. And it's just like, it's been done. So I hope that you have something more, because it didn't catch on when other people did it. So you better have something else coming out besides having a bunch of old fighters to make yours resonate, because there were some really good fighters in the IFL at one time. Guys like Jim Miller from, the guy that's got more wins and fights in the UFC, his brother Dan Miller. I mean, there was, a lot of really good talent in that IFL, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I think, look, the thing that scares me the most, and I was listening to, I can't remember who I was listening to, but they brought it up, is a lot of the, obviously boxing is going to Saudi Arabia. MMA will start to make its way there as well. Maybe not as much as boxing will, because boxing.
Well, it is with the PFL. They've done their last 2 shows there.
Yeah, and they're going to probably do their next 2 shows after that there.
Well, the next one is the Bellator one in Dubai.
Yeah. So they're doing, what I'm saying is not just Saudi Arabia, they're doing it in the Middle East. They're going to be, and here's the reason why, and maybe I'm wrong. They did it with golf because it's an individual sport. If there was a market for them to have tennis over there at a high level, they would probably do it with tennis. It's easy to persuade one person, one individual at a time with this much money, and then I just go get another one. This much money, another one, this much money. And now all of a sudden I've got a group of people I can build around. It can't do it with like the NFL. They can't do it with the NBA. They can, but it would be a lot of work for them, because how many fucking fighters are like, oh yeah, or not fighters, but teams are like, yeah, I want to live in Saudi Arabia. I want to live in Dubai. I want to be over there 9 months out of the year or 8 months out of the year doing training camp and having my games over there. It's not going to happen. So, but with individual stuff like this, they can do it. They can have most of their fights there in Saudi Arabia and then start to venture off. Let's do one over here in Africa. Let's do one over here in Canada. Let's do one in the States, then come back and do most of our shows, in the Middle East. They can buy the talent to do it. They can buy the Tyson's Furies, the Usyks. They can buy the Mike Tyson, the Jake Pauls. They can buy them if they want and have them go over there, and they can build around that. So right now is it's one of those times where don't be surprised if we start to lose a lot of the top level, world-class level fights to go over there. UFC has been very good about keeping it here in the States, New York, UK. They're not giving them their best products yet. But I mean, I'm hearing something on the backside. People were kind of buzzing to me a little bit, sending me texts saying that they're hearing that Dana White's going to step away from the UFC. He won't be gone, but that he potentially is going to step away from the UFC.
Because he has a boxing engagement with a guy named Turki Al-Kashik.
Yeah. And if that happens, John, I mean, like, I think that he'll still remain present there. But
I'm going to tell you, look, he is a huge presence in the sport of MMA. Dana is the most popular person, be it fighters or non-fighters, in the sport of MMA. He's the most well-known person in the sport of MMA. That doesn't mean that he does all the work for the UFC, though. He's got a ton of people around him, and there's people like Hunter Campbell, who, some people have heard that name. Look, Hunter Campbell is incredibly smart. There's a reason why he works for the UFC. There's a reason why he's the right-hand man to Dana. He's because he does a great job and he takes care of things. So could Dana, step away and the UFC is really not going to change? Yeah, they've got a machine going there. It's. I think Dana would be missed as far as like some of the things he says, but he's really tailored himself off of going after fighters like he used to. He used to go after fighters, and he was pretty harsh, and saying something about someone, and he's really tailored that off. He's put it more towards other promotions, things like that. But
well, those promotions bring it upon themselves by
he'll be missed. I'm not going to say he's not going to be missed because anytime, but I've always said I don't care who you are, everyone can be replaced. We replace the president of the United States at least once every 8 years. Anybody can be replaced, and Dana can be replaced. It's just the way the world works. But will he be missed? Sure.
I don't think he fully steps away. I think he stays within it.
Who knows?
But look, if you're going to do business with Turkey, then you're going to have to worry about making sure that business is successful. And look, and there's a big market for boxing. They can make a shit ton of money. I see that leaning that way. I see it leaning that way to where they're going to start to. It's easy to take the individuals and pay them a ton of money to get what you want. It's harder to do it with the team atmosphere. You can't pay 70 players or 53 players on a team and have 32 teams. You can, but do you really want to build it from the ground up? That's a lot more difficult than let me take 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 of the best fighters in the world and just basically, hey, let's have one-offs, especially in boxing, which that's been their business model, for the longest time. Now we're trying to do it with MMA. I don't know if they'll do it as much. They won't do it with MMA. They'll try to keep the 5 fight cards, main card fights, and then they'll try to keep probably 4 or 5 prelim fights, and then they'll do that. They may dial it down a little bit, but
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens, John. We'll see what happens, John. There's so much more to talk about. There's look, everyone with the GFL. To me, the GFL right now, what they're doing is they're utilizing all those fighters to try and go out there and get some capital.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly what they're doing. They're saying, look, these are our fighters. Look at these names.
Yeah. And maybe they'll do it because look, let's be honest. The best time to get into this sport right now is right now. There's a void right now in the US and North America for having more shows here, and the talent is not here anymore. In terms of the shows are not being done here. They're being done in the UK. PFL does most of their shows in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East. And then when they don't do them there, they do them in the UK. Most of Bellator shows were in the UK. They only had a handful of them here. 1 or 2 here in the States. So let's be honest. They're taking most of their fights overseas and less here. That being said, right now, if you were to start a U.S. organization and a North American organization, or maybe even one that branched out into Brazil, there's something to be done here. There is something to be done here. If you're looking to get into the sport and you wanted to start a campaign, and the first advice I can give you, keep the UFC's name out of your mouth. Just focus on building your shit. That's it. That's all you need to do. Just keep their name out of your mouth, because all that happens is now you just have opened up your door to being you're trying to say that your guys is good. No, I don't need to say that anymore. My young talent or my homegrown fighters will do the best they can, and some may leave. But just build whatever you can, and the ones that'll stay loyal, those are the ones that you try to make sure you take care of the most, and build it from the ground up. I think that's the working formula. That's the winning formula.
Yep.
So what you got to do is make sure you find fighters that buy into it. That's the hard part, because right now, like you look across like in NIL deals, colleges can't keep players right now because they go to the next, they enter the portal. It's a fucking disaster right now. Who can give me the most money? Just when the portal opened, I read this today. Some players have already switched schools 4 times in the transfer portal within the last week and a half, because the other schools already came out and said, I have more money to offer you. So they left, went there. Oh, nope, I've got more money to offer you here now. I'm over here now. They're hitting the transfer portal 3 or 4 times within a couple weeks. And just because they keep chasing the money. And Nick Saban came out and said too, like, I lost interest when parents came and sat down at our dinner table in our house, because my wife would make them a dinner when I meet the kids. and the parents' first thing out of their mouth was, "How much you paying them?" It wasn't like, "What can you do to make my son, a grown man, or help him with his maturity, or make him the
Make
best
sure
player."
he's going to get his education.
Yeah, make sure he gets his education. But what can you do to help get him to the league? What can you do, or how can you help get him to the NFL? That's what we care about, where he can make a ton of money. But I want him to get an education. They don't ask those questions. How much are you going to pay him? First question out of their mouth. They just said they lost interest. I think with the fighters, I think what you're going to run into right now is PFL. We're seeing it already with one. They're releasing a lot of their top guys. PFL and Bellator releasing a lot of their top guys. Guys that were making. Gegard Mousasi was released. Yaroslav Amislov released. Lorenz Larkin released. There's other guys that will probably be released here, probably within the next 6 months. If you're somebody who is starting a promotion and a serious conversation needs to be had with these fighters, John, do you want a home to fight in? Or do you want to just keep fighting in the fairground shows, making 1,000 and 1,000? Because I can pay you a little bit more than that 1,000 and 1,000, but I can't pay you $250,000 to fight in my organization. I can't pay you $100,000, $150,000 to fight in my organization. What is fair is this and this, 30 and 30, 40 and 40. If you want to wait and hold out and go somewhere else until you can get to the UFC, then I'm not the organization for you. That's the market has been flooded with these smaller promotions, John, showering them with money. And they think like, oh, okay, good. Now I'm just going to use this too. And now I'm going to go to the UFC and make all this money and become a star. There needs to be a serious conversation. Like, do you guys really want to live this dream? And if you do, then you're going to have to make some sacrifices, how the younger generation did, like how my generation did, like literally fighting for the title, making, 60 and 60, which was not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money, but it was a lot of money back then. You know what I mean? But just one of those positions is the fighters have to learn to adjust and they're going to have to make that adjustment. I think here soon, or they'll have less promotions to grow their brand and to get experience to get them to the UFC. That's it. So expect things like that to happen, because you don't know how many shows PFL and Bellator are going to have in the States, or how many fighters they'll be signing. You don't know. One, how many fighters are they going to sign, and will they have the money to sign? And do you want to fight in Asia or over the, like, you got to there's hard choices to be made.
Oh yeah.
A lot of hard choices to be made coming up. So I think there's a void right now for a new MMA promotion, as long as they keep the UFC's name out of their mouth. Just fight. Yeah, Dave, what do you got?
We'll see.
This episode is brought to you by BetUS. Make sure you guys YouTube 150 for the promo code. Also, Element, use the link in the descriptions down below. Any product you buy from there, they will send you a bonus package of product if you use our link down below. Element's amazing, man. I love it. And I want to say thank you, man. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support us.